Coming up, we are diving deep into fall at Walt Disney World. We're going to break down 7 different categories and prioritize what is magical and what is tragical when you are planning a trip to Disney in the fall. While most things are magic, you may just find some tragic.
But it's crowded. I still think it's a great time to go. And if you have the scheduling issue with school, this could be the answer.
Hey y'all, it's LJ here, owner and founder of Smart Moms Plan Disney and Smart Moms Travel. We are so glad you're here for another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. Now, here's your host, Allie.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. I am your host, Allie. Today, I am here with Becki and Stacy. What's up, my friends?
Hey.
Hi.
We know here on this podcast that one of the biggest questions a first-time Disney planner or a recurring Disney planner is asking is, when is the best time to go? And as experts, we know that that cannot just be answered in one word. There are so many different factors, and we are going through each time of year in a really fun make it or break it type series on the show. We already did summer, so go back and listen if you haven't already. And today we are going to be talking about fall Disney. But before we do, did you all see the announcement? By the time this airs, it's kind of an old announcement, but it's the first time we are talking since it was announced that Test Track is back, baby. It's back.
When I was there just a couple weeks ago, we could hear it running. We would have loved for it to just pop up surprise open while we were there, but of course that didn't happen. And we were at Beach Club while the pool was closed and knew that it was opening any day now. And I started talking to some construction workers out there and thinking I could maybe squeeze some information out of them. And one of them was like, "Oh, we heard it's going to be Thursday." And I was like, "What? We'll still be here Thursday?" And then it didn't open Thursday. But then it's open now, like literally 3 days after we checked out, the pool was open. So
I was going to say, you checked out and then all of a sudden, surprise announcement, Beach Club. I was like, you missed it.
I know. It was just the timing, right? We're always worried about the timing. But we did enjoy very, very much the other pool. But, there's nothing quite like the feature pool, Stormalong Bay at Beach Club. But I totally digressed. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I'm actually glad you mentioned that because I felt so bad for you when I saw that announcement. But back to Test Track, what did either of you know what year it originally opened? Because it's had a reimagining since its original opening, didn't it?
Yes.
Like it wasn't still the same.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So this isn't the first time that it's gone through something. And I remember what I remember about the first time was that it was talked about as this big new thrill. And when we wrote it, I distinctly remember my dad getting off of the ride, and he loved big thrilling attractions, and him just saying, like, it felt like a car ad.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. It was not great. Like, what was that? What did I just ride? Definitely fell short of what was promoted, is what I remember. And I was young, and that's my takeaway. I do look forward to the next one. My thing with Test Track, though, is I'm not a big car lover. My wife is a car lover. Her first ever car was like a Mustang convertible, limited edition, 90s.
I didn't know that.
Oh my gosh, you have to ask her the story. She loves the story about how her papa bought it for cash, and it was like this whole thing he had saved a lifetime for. If I'm being real, I actually don't know if that's kind of where her love of cars started, like that story.
Probably, because that's an amazing car.
Yeah, she still has it. So I don't know if that's where it started or if it was before that. But I had a hand-me-down, thank you to my grandpa, who is no longer with us, but gave me his car, like gave it to me, to drive. But it was a Ford Taurus, nothing super exciting, but it did save me my life in a really terrible car accident when I totaled it, like 3 months after he gave it to me.
Wow.
Classic.
Wow.
But I've just not, are you car people? Because I'm not like that. I do love my car now, but I'm not like a car person.
Well, no. First of all, let me just state right off, I am not a car person. However, I kind of feel like that, I'm not, but I've played one on TV. I drove as a job for Enterprise Rent-A-Car for 11 years. So just by doing that, I experienced so many different makes and models of of just literally everything from, and I mean, seriously, the tiniest spec car. Like, what are the little bitty cars called? The smart
Mini, like a
car.
Mini
Like a
Cooper?
mini?
No, like,
Oh, like the ones in that movie with Ashton Kutcher where that's like a two-seater and it's real
yes.
compact like
Is
this.
that, are they called smart?
Maybe. I don't know.
There's a word for them. Anyway, I have driven the most ridiculous clown cars to these gigantic, construction type cars. Like, I've just driven everything, everything. So I feel like I can have a little bit of experience with pretty much whatever car somebody tosses out as an option. And I have always loved Mustangs. I just, hearing you say that, I'm just like, oh, that has been my dream car since I was in high school. I wanted a Mustang. I've never had one, but through Enterprise, sponsor us, please. Okay. I drove lots of Mustangs and it was my favorite thing. And if there was ever a reason to drive a car and like there was multiple of us drivers and there was a Mustang in the mix, people knew, give it to Stacy. She wants to drive the Mustang. And the car I'm driving now, I feel like is my closest step to a Mustang. And it's just a little Ford Fusion. And I feel like there's a lot of similarities in it, and it gives me that feeling that makes me happy, but also gives me a four-door.
Yeah.
A Mustang was never practical for my life and 5 children, and I'm still thinking one day I might get one, just saying.
I was gonna say, you're an empty nester now. You can just
You are.
It still could happen.
you can borrow your kids' cars if you need to drive the grandkids
That's right.
around.
That's exactly right.
I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but in another life, I dreamt of being a NHRA drag racer. Like, I wanted to drive professional race cars for a living in another life. And when we chose South Florida, the reason I wanted to choose South Florida, besides just wanting to like come to a culturally diverse, beautiful place where there are white sand beaches and palm trees,
Yeah.
Becky's heart is happy in this moment. Sean loves cars. In fact, to the point that for years, car experiences have been things that I've given him for holidays. Like for his birthday, I would rent him certain cars for like a day. So he's driven like a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, Porsche 911. We went to Las Vegas for one of his experiences, and he got to go out on the racetrack and drive some fancy Porsche that he was dreaming about driving.
Wow.
And it's like cars are a part of the fabric of who we are. We go to the auto expo. It's just, we love cars in our house. And it's so cute because it's what Sean and Laker are kind of bonding about right now with our 15-year-old son. And Laker's drawn to BMWs. Like, it's just so fun to have something to connect on. And Stacy, when you said that you love Mustangs in high school, I grew up in the era that Clueless came out kind of with my generation, and everybody wanted Jeeps.
Yep.
That was like the dream car, that everybody wanted to have like a white Jeep, or there were a couple like quirky people who were like, I want a neon pink Jeep. And
Oh yeah.
for me, I was like, dream car, 1999 Mustang, has to be a convertible. Like I had all of these,
yeah.
a 50 Mustang, GT, like all of these things were like in my head on what I dream wanted. I never got it. My dad told me that if I got a college scholarship, he would buy me one. He did not follow through on that promise. I got a full ride scholarship and I never got my Mustang. So maybe one day when the kids are gone, I will buy myself a Mustang.
Yeah.
Yeah, we already have one. We gotta get ours back up and running, but Sandra has one. I'm in my mom era of cars. Like you have to have the mom car.
Yeah, for sure.
This is no shade. Okay. I'm seriously, this is no judgment or shade. I just, when going for the mom car, did not ever pick a minivan. And I don't think I ever would. I think it's just one of those things that you either will drive a minivan or you won't. So that left me with like a little bit of possibilities, right? Because I have 3 kids and they all have a million friends and I drive the carpool every day. So I needed 3 rows and I needed 4 doors and I needed an extended trunk because, we have a lot of stuff all the time. So I had like 4 cars I could pick from, that checked every single box.
Yep.
Yes, this is fair. However, I tend to think I can truly say that I was also never going to be the minivan mom until I wanted to have a vehicle that I could put all of our party of 5 in with their friends and their stuff. And I wanted it to be a hybrid or electric.
Mm-hmm.
And the only option available was a Chrysler Pacifica. And we bought a Chrysler Pacifica hybrid. And I loved
I love a Pacifica.
I loved our minivan years. Like, I would go back to a Chrysler Pacifica hybrid.
Yep.
No qualms. Like, Yes, it was amazing.
It's funny.
I love a minivan. But what's funny, I love the minivan with the car seat days. It was so convenient, so wonderful, and we did not, back in my day, here comes Granny talking. Back in my day, we only had one sliding door on a minivan. The invention of two sliding doors on a minivan was mind blowing.
Without anyone having to open it. You can open it from your seat. And
Exactly. Oh my
the two
gosh.
captain chairs in the middle, so you don't have to slide any
Yes.
seats forward. It was totally designed by a mom,
Life
right?
changing.
Like a mom had to
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
You know what's hilarious
Yeah.
is you can tell which of my kids' friends have moms with minivans because my kids have had to learn how to
Tumble that seat.
No. Brace yourself with
Oh.
one hand on your seat and then hang your body far out the door to grab the door and slam it shut, right? Because they're little, so they need their full body weight in the door to slam it shut, but you're going to fall out of the car. So you got to learn to brace yourself and pull the door. So my kids have been doing that because in the preschool pickup line, they want you to go, 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 go. They have no patience for anybody waiting. And they certainly have no patience for moms that have cars that don't open and shut their doors themselves. My kids are learning by age 3 to like slam this door. So even now, my oldest is going into 5th, and sometimes her friends will get in the car and like, pull the door shut. And they like give it a light tug. And I'm like, no. Pull the door shut till it's slammed. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, they definitely have a minivan mom because they're like, well, where's your button to shut your door, Allie?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Gosh, we're a tall family, and it was not long once we got everybody out of car seats. And I have 5 children. When we were done with car seats, we were totally ready for a big SUV. We had a giant Armada, and that thing had leg room. Even when we were trying out Suburbans and some others that were really big exterior vehicles, their interior was not always as big.
Mhm,
And that Armada we had was just a tank, and we could load it up with kids. And man, we drove that thing all over. We love that car. That was a sad one to get rid of. Sentimentality with a vehicle. I don't know if y'all
Oh,
have experienced
yeah.
that.
For sure.
Your kids like grow up in those cars.
So many
I know.
memories. Yes.
I just
yes.
got a new car earlier this year, and I literally was pulling out of the dealership, driving it, and in my rearview mirror was just my old car. And I took a picture. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I loved that car.
I know. We did. We'd always take pictures of them as we're leaving. And man, our Armada that we loved, we sold it ourselves. I didn't trade it in or anything. Had somebody come by, and you don't remember all the little things that are wrong with it until you're getting ready to sell it to somebody else. And then I was like, oh, yeah. And with this armrest, you have to do it like this, and you have to teach them all the little things. I'm like, because I had a really rambunctious kid in my car, and it popped off, and, and it's never been the same since. And you just have all these little stories coming about with also these little things that are wrong with it now because of kids.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
true.
Have you all heard the debate right now, like a white SUV versus a black SUV, Mom?
Oh, yeah.
It's like all over that. Xandra and I talk about it all the time because I actually drive one SUV and she drives another. And the colors of our SUV are always the same. Like I always drive one and she always drives the other. Have you heard that? Stacey, have you heard that?
No, I haven't heard that it was a trend recently. However, I naturally think that that's a normal conversation that has been had through the years.
A white SUV mom is very put together and
Magic Kingdom.
Magic Kingdom mom,
Mhm.
cuts up the
Mhm.
organic snackle box and all of that. And like the black SUV mom is like messy bun, throw the McDonald's in the back, which is funny
Yep.
because I actually think Xandra and I cross over into both. Like there are some ways where I'm one and she's the other. But do you all know which color SUV I have versus which one she has?
Do you have a black and a white?
We've always had a black and a white, and I've always had one and she's
Oh.
always had one. Yeah, we've always had black and white.
Well, the Magic Kingdom, you guys both have a little bit of Magic Kingdom mom in you.
I know. This is why it's kind of hard because I think we both could be either, but I have one, she has the other.
I'm just trying to think that I kind of have an image, when we've been on Marco Polo. I feel like I have seen yours.
Okay, so I have, Becki, were you going to guess?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Xandra might be a little bit more black SUV mom, and you're a little bit more white SUV mom because Xandra, I truly love Xandra. She's amazing. And she has that little bit of like, not going to take anybody's crap
Yes.
in her, which is a little more black SUV mom, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, you got it right. I
Yeah.
mean, I have a white SUV
Yeah.
sitting out in the driveway. She has a black one, and people that are in our life, they know that that's probably pretty true of us. Exactly that way that you just said it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I drive a white SUV, but I think that Sean might actually be the white SUV mom in our house.
Yeah, I agree with that. I could agree. Yep.
He's the one that made us choose a white SUV. We love our SUV, but I would go back to a Chrysler Pacifica in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure a lot of smarty moms are listening
Oh
straight
yeah.
from their Pacifica right now or their minivan, like loving it. They're like pushing their little door button thing. And kudos to you.
Yep.
Kudos to you. That's great. I never made the leap, and we're getting close to being out of car seats now, so no need to go backwards for us. We're coming to the end, as my youngest are going to be 8, which is just wild. So, all right, we're going to transition. We're going to talk about fall at Disney when we come back after this quick break. Hey, Smarties, did you know that just by listening to this ad, you can save on renting baby equipment from the #1 baby gear rental service across the US, Canada, and beyond? Of course, I'm talking about BabyQuip. When we're traveling, it is just life in a new place, but I don't have beds for my babies or even a high chair for them to eat in. And when we don't have our things, we do not have our rhythm, and it can make it really difficult to enjoy our vacation. Look no further than BabyQuip. With a wide range of baby and toddler equipment available, including cribs, strollers, car seats, toys, and more. BabyQuip helps give us some of that normalcy our kiddos crave and the peace of mind we need. When they are happy, we are happy. All products follow strict cleanliness and safety protocols, and they are there to ensure that you can really enjoy your vacation. Whether at a home, a hotel, a vacation rental, or whatever you're calling home for your vacation, you never have to worry. If you need it, they have it. BabyQuip is available in over 1,500 cities, making it accessible. So whether you're going to Disney World or Disneyland or some other travel destination, BabyQuip will have you covered. They have an easy-to-use online platform for quick reservations and easy customer support. So head to babyquip.com and use the code SMPOD, that's SMPOD, you can save $30 off of any order of $150 or more. That's SMPOD at babyquip.com. Pack light, travel happy. All right, like I said at the beginning, when we are planning vacations, everyone is always like, what's the best time to go? And that simply cannot be answered in one quick and easy answer, right? It's like, what do you value? What matters to you? Because there are going to be really great things about every time of year, and then there's going to be maybe that one sticking point where you're like, oh, you get all these good things, but then there's that one thing that's going to be harder this time of year, or the other way around. So we already talked about summer in a different episode. Today we are going to talk about fall. We're going to discuss 7 topics that you might consider when you are deciding when you should go to Disney. And we are going to be looking at September to November, which we have decided are the fall months that are at Disney World. We're going to give it a Disney Magic or a That's So Tragic rating for each of our 7 categories after discussing it, and then sort of determine from there if fall is the right time of year for you, or you can determine from listening, because what might matter to us may not matter as much to you. Do you guys like fall Disney? Just as a blanket statement.
Oh yeah.
Yes. If I could say what is my favorite season, I would say football, which
Yeah.
is immediately which is immediately fall. But I would say that this time of year we're talking about is football season, and that is my favorite.
Yeah, same.
We have very basic outline that we're looking at for these podcast episodes that we work on. I did not see football written anywhere on here. And I was like, how long will it take for the 3 of us to mention
know.
it? And here we are right out the
I
gate.
know.
But I was thinking when it comes to fall and scheduling, that's very important to us because we're like, well, we're not going to be down at Disney on a Saturday because we've got to watch Bama football. And we'll look to see, or maybe it's an off week. Okay, so we can go on this Saturday because they're not playing. But who else is playing in the SEC? We need to see. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's absolutely a part of our scheduling in the fall.
Oh, same. Like I've been on 2 cruises in the fall, and both were on Bengals bye weeks. That's
Exactly.
It's out of control. It's not normal. I just started last night. There's the show Hard Knocks, which is the NFL show on Max. They covered the Bengals division last year, but it was such a tragic season that I couldn't watch it while it was on. It was just too hard I didn't need to relive it. I was already living it. And so last night I decided I had had enough separation and I turned it on. Instant anxiety. I was like, oh, not ready for this. Not ready to watch it. Not there yet.
I've been with y'all on a Saturday, a Bama football game day, and left. I left y'all in the park, and I was like, "Deuces, I'm out.
Yeah.
I got to go
I did that for a Bengals game as
to
well.
my room. Yeah, I'm out." So
I did that at the
it was great.
I did that at the big conference, the big Smart Moms conference. We were all together. I left something and went and watched the game in my room. And you guys were like, "Do you want me to come back with you?" And I was like, "No, please don't. Let me just go."
Please
Yeah, please
don't.
don't.
Nope, 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 nope.
Look,
This is not a social affair. This is me and my team.
Becki, look what you did.
I'm not even sorry about it. I can say I'm sorry about it, but
Look what you
anytime the
did.
three of us are together, football is going to come up.
It's hysterical. And now we're
Yep.
talking fall. Okay. Anyway, back to my question. Yes, we all love fall, not just for football. We love Halloween and the colors and just everything about it. And Disney does it right. So let's talk our first category here. This is a big one. I think, would you agree with me that when people are saying, what's the best time of year? Crowds, weather, cost, right? Like that's like the three things that we're going to talk about seven things because we are the experts that know about some of the things you might not be considering. But those are probably the three front runners where people are, tell me these. And it's hard to find the alignment where all three are good. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So let's talk about crowds because across fall in general, you kind of see a whole spectrum. You can see some of the lowest crowds all year, or you can see some peaks.
Yeah, this season
Yeah.
has both of those things. It has the darkest green days in our if we were calling them like green and red, the lowest of the year and also among the highest of the year, both within this season. So this is a complex topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
September crowds. We're just looking at crowds, right? There's going to be
Mhm.
other things we could talk about. Crowds specifically, you're looking at some greatness. You know, that
Mhm.
month alone, if low wait times is a priority to you, easier to get reservations is a priority to you. September could be a sweet spot. October, also not bad, but you have to be a little bit more strategic, right? It's not a whole month of green as go,
Mhm.
you know? And then November, I would say the same thing. Maybe a little bit more than a 50-50 split. Maybe some more good days in November and October than bad, but more crowded days, which are going to fall around the schedule, which we'll talk about later. But I think to answer the baseline question, how are the crowds in the fall? You can find super low green days across September, October, and November.
Mhm.
But then there are going to be those extreme red do not enter days if crowds are scary for you. And for any Smart Moms travel agents listening today, the hidden Mickey will be red because you can find that across all 3 months as well. Well, really not so much in September. I would say September is a pretty free crowd month.
It's pretty safe to make those plans. But the interesting thing about this time of year, and we're going to get into some of the offerings, and we've talked about it already. We've mentioned the parties. When those come up, they make it where you might have a generally lower crowd. And yet, because of scheduling, which we're also going to get into, the crowd level will fluctuate from park to park. So you may have lower crowds that are still doing really well in certain parks versus where the crowds are going to naturally be drawn. And it has to do with the scheduling and, which parks are closing at which time and how that tends to drive choices for people when they go. So there's a nuance in fall for sure that you need to listen to all of our things here
Hmm.
because there's going to be a lot of things that can make a difference from day to day.
Yeah, I agree. So crowds, we say that's so magic.
Definitely magic. That's so magic.
Yes, for
Yes.
sure.
Yes, crowds are magic. With the exception of, I think fall houses one of the busiest weeks of the year, being Thanksgiving week. So
Mhm.
that would be so tragic. But overall, as
Yeah.
a season, this is going to be magical.
Absolutely.
Next, and arguably the most important factor when planning Disney, and probably the number one factor that would keep people away, right? Like you want lower crowds, you want good weather, but the thing that can either cause you to go or not go in general is going to be the cost, right? So it's important that Smarties listeners, everybody understand that a package you build one time of year, same exact package, resort, room type, tickets, it can literally cost thousands of dollars less than another time of year. So if
Mhm.
there are specific things that you want, like if you're like, no, I have to stay at Beach Club, but I'm not, I don't have $1 trillion to spend. There are some times of year where you simply don't have to. There are some times of year where, yeah, if that's your goal, you're going to. But the cost is really dependent on the time of year. And you can get what you want if you strategize well. And fall can really fall into some of those lower, more attainable costs.
Yeah, and I think that often when you're thinking through that planning piece, often people will be like, I'm hoping that a promo comes available so that I can make this cheaper. Honestly, just changing your week or the time you're going can sometimes save you more than a promo would ever save you anyway, just on a flatline cost of going as a package.
I was just pricing something for someone in the fall, and we were kind of looking at where September bleeds into October. And just the package we were looking at was like the last week of September versus the second week of October or something like that. It was like $800 more one of the weeks than it was the other, and that is what people have to be just really aware of, because you could look at that second week I was pricing and say, oh, that's way too high, and not even realize that you could get everything you want if you could just go a little earlier, and all across fall, you can find super affordable weeks. You can also find higher priced weeks, right?
Mhm.
So again, I think when we're looking at fall in general, if we're looking at the season, we have one answer. And then if you're a family that's trying to travel around like a specific holiday, which we'll talk about with scheduling, then your answer may be a little different. But I don't think it's fair to judge the whole season off of, one specific holiday.
I agree. Think we really have two times in this fall era where crowds kind of pick up. We'll specifically talk about when those are, but for the most part, this is a glorious time to go.
Mm-hmm.
If the crowds are low, the prices tend to follow that. This is very much a supply and demand situation.
Yeah, and you also see better promos, right? For the
Totally.
fall already, we saw a free dining promo. I mean, you can literally have Disney paying for your food while you're there these times of year. And there was also a really amazing that resort promo that Disney dropped for the fall. I'm talking hundreds a night off for deluxe days. I mean, you can literally see it cost, high in the hundreds and drop a lot without getting too specific, a ton.
I saw, and I'm not going to put an official number on this, but I saw a deluxe resort with a 2 at the beginning of that price tag. And I was like, what in the world is happening? That is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the cost can be right if you utilize promos well, if you're using your Smart Moms agent to find your promos, because there were even mix and match promos. You have like that summer ticket promo that bled into the fall and went all the way through September for the most part, where you could kind of separate things and mix and match your package. And if you have somebody that knows what they're doing, you can save a ton.
Yeah. Those numbers in the autumn or the fall, the autumn. I'm being so formal. I'm being so second grade teacher right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, autumn is a name and fall is a season.
The prices during this time, the promos, everything with the caveat of avoiding some very specific weeks are just everything you could hope for, I think, when it comes to cost and getting the best bang for your buck in your budget.
Yeah. Okay. So cost overall with all these promos and downtimes, that's so magic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Let's talk about pools. I think pools become a huge factor for a lot of families. More often than not when I'm planning, they say, well, we want a really good pool and that we want to be able to use that pool. First of all, it's important to say that every Disney property does have a great pool. They just do. But greatness also is a huge matter of opinion, right? What makes it great and what makes it usable. And so you're going to have a great option no matter what. In the fall, can you still swim? Do y'all swim in the fall?
Well, if we're talking September, 100%. We are still very much in the heat of what I would say summer kind of heat, even though we're stepping into the fall months. I'm curious on what's going to happen with the water parks, though, because the water parks, we've had this huge, awesome adventure of getting to choose which of the 2 water parks we wanted to go to this summer. And Disney has not yet announced whether we're going to get both of them beyond August, really, at this point.
Yeah. If I had to guess, I would say probably just one, but this is just speculation.
Yeah.
Because it is starting to get cooler. September, you are swimming for sure, and you are enjoying them.
Yes.
And I think by the time you kind of tread into October and November, if you're at Disney World in the summer and you go for a midday pool break, it may be like wall-to-wall people some of those days. The midday pool crowd in the fall may be a little bit more manageable, so you really get some of that pool time more isolated maybe for your family. Do you agree?
Yeah, more elbow room in the pools.
Yeah.
I don't think that ever there's a point where you can't get in the pool, even on the busiest days, but definitely lower crowds in the pools in these fall months than you would in the June, July, August era.
I agree. Okay, so pools in the fall, you're still swimming. Weather is still good for a pool day. We're going to talk about weather, but you have a little bit more room. They're still open. They're heated if it's a chilly day. They're not heated if it's a hot day. So you're going to accommodate everything, and they're going to be magic. So far, we're magic, magic, magic. We love fall.
What's not to love?
Right, exactly.
Oh,
Are you looking to save on your transportation from your arrival to your destination when you travel to Orlando? Well, keep listening because we're going to save you some money. If you're planning your next trip to Disney, you've probably asked in some sort of online community, what's the best way to get from the airport to the resort? Well, let me help you out. MCO to Disney is the way to go. From the moment you book, they make things easy and stress-free. The day before your trip, you're going to get a personalized message with your driver's contact info, your travel details confirmed, and everything set up for you so that you can have a relaxing time and simply focus on the magic ahead. When you land, your driver is there waiting at baggage claim, holding a sign with your family name, ready to welcome you, just like the family that you are. Your vehicle will be spotless and your car seats already installed just how you requested them. And if you need a grocery stop, they've got you covered for no extra charge. But here's what makes them even more special. It's not just transportation. MCO to Disney knows it's the first moment of your vacation where your memories begin. So no crowded shuttles, no multiple stops, just you, your family, your time, and your ride straight into the magic. Start your Disney vacation the right way with peace of mind, comfort, and service designed to help you create unforgettable memories from the moment you land. Visit mco2disney.com. That's the number 2, mco2disney.com, and use code SMARTMOMS, one word, all caps, at checkout to save 10% on all transportation. Let's talk perks. Fall perks. Becki, talk about you start us off here. Talk about the fall perks.
When I think what is the time of year I want to be specifically in Magic Kingdom, fall jumps to the forefront of my mind. I think that there are such people think of Christmas on Main Street because I think we see it in the parade for Christmas, all of those things. But for me, my actual favorite Main Street experience is when those pumpkins go up on the Main Street stores and there's leaves everywhere and those classic Mickey pumpkin wreaths come out. The vibes around Magic Kingdom specifically during this time is just amazing. Like maybe it's the football season thing again. I don't know. It just feels, I can start feeling the crispness in the air. It's just a feeling that brings happiness to me.
Yeah, you do get really great, unique decorations. You do get some really cool, different like snacks and maybe merch. Lower crowds, we kind of already talked about crowds. If I'm being honest, like perks itself in its own category, like there are really great things about going in the fall, but they almost fall into all of our other categories. The biggest perk is probably that you're gonna see some, I mean, never guaranteed, but historically we see some good promos like that we just talked about, like that's the perks are kind of all of these categories, lower crowds and good pricing is the perk
Right.
of fall.
Truth.
Right. It's one of those vibe things. Like you've mentioned, it's fun watching a change of season. And Disney does that well. And I think for all of us, this nostalgia of fall being a whole new switch in your experiences. Everybody's got that back to school vibe and the football season vibe. I know that not everybody experiences that, but we know how wonderful that is. And you said, Becki, you feel a crispness in the air. And I was like, there's no crispness in the air at
No.
Disney World. It is not. But you imagine that it is when you see everything because our brains are so mentally experienced that before, like with just how a season changes. And it's magic. It is truly magic when you walk into Disney World and it's still 90 degrees and you do imagine that there's a crispness in the air. It's so fun. It really is fun. And in Disney it's so good about smells, and I just feel like the food smells come in and it does totally change the
Oh,
vibe.
popcorn and cinnamon, and it just like starts feeling like
Yeah.
we're heading into like maybe not even just mine, everybody's favorite time of year. I don't want to say everybody's, but you know what I mean. When
Yep.
you're heading into the holiday season from Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, etc. However, I am going to push back and say there is a crispness in the air for me because remember, I'm coming from Miami where we are 80 to 90 degrees, hot, humid all the time. And during the fall seasons, we will at times when we're getting into late October, November, get as low as 60, which in South Florida, no joke, when we first moved here, our kids' school called us and said, we're going to dip into the 60s. Please send your kids with layers. That is crisp for us when we're coming from South Florida. So if you're not coming from up in where you actually have winter, definitely not. But for us, 60s, chilly.
Can we give perks, that's so magic, and let this be a transition into the weather conversation?
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Because here's my thing, like Becki, you were just saying cinnamon, popcorn. I love to, I'm like very cliche. Here's my white SUV mom. I love a pumpkin spice latte or a pumpkin chai latte in the fall. You know, that's just it's so great and it feels so wonderful. That just sounds disgusting at Disney World because it is so warm. And it is for
Mhm.
me coming from the Midwest, it more like aligns with what Stacy said. It's like a mind trickery. You know, I see all of the I
Mhm.
see the Halloween and I see the fall and I see the leaves, but I feel like I should be sitting at my pool, you know? And
Yeah.
so you are getting the entire wheel with the weather at Disney World in the fall. September to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Florida local,
Mhm.
September to me is rain and humidity. Like
Correct.
sticky humidity and lots of daily rain.
September specifically, and for those non Florida or East Coast along the ocean front or Gulf Coast, even, we're still very much in hurricane season. Hurricane season runs June to November. So that does not mean you're going to be hit with a hurricane. So don't be afraid of this, but just be aware that hurricane season brings in daily thunderstorms. You're going to have rain fall on you at some time during your trip while you're in here. That does not mean it's going to ruin your trip, but that does not mean it's going to be days and days of raining. Rain is just going to somewhat be in your forecast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is probably why I was thinking it's not crisp, it's kinda soggy, but there
Yeah.
is it will be wet. You know, you might wanna bring towels, you wanna
It's
bring
true.
in your backpack with you to wipe down seats before you are sitting down at Fantasmic, you know, the seats may be wet. Disney's pretty good about trying to get all that fixed up for you, but it's gonna be a little soggy, but it does bring the temperatures down, so if you have that fear of that summer heat, you know, I'm not going to go to Disney when it's so hot. This is an excellent option. The rain might be in a little bit longer spurts this time of year, but it's really nice.
Here's what I want to say though about the rain. It rains every day. It's a pop-up shower in most cases,
Mhm.
and it can only ruin your time if you let it, right? Pack your poncho and expect it to happen. Plan for, hey, that's when we're going to go get in line somewhere indoors or we're going to sit down and eat. And then usually it passes and it's over. You know, we go in September and it rains for an hour or two and it's over. And it's usually in the afternoon. That's just always kind of what's been the case in Florida. I remember that from when I was little as well. You are getting rain, you are getting humidity. You can still be getting 90 degrees,
Mhm.
but you can also be getting 60 degrees. So I do actually find this time of year, a little bit difficult to predict. When people are booking October, especially, and they were like, how's the weather? I'm like, it's a toss up. You know, it could be getting cooler for sure, or you could see temperature spikes for sure. You're still exiting rainy season for sure. So, what do you all think? Too unpredictable to be magic or a great time?
Well, and I think we're saying fall, September, October, November. And I think there's a big difference between September to November. If you really want to try to come out of the rain in your little bit lower temperatures, you probably need to focus more on the November. What do you think? Becky, you live there.
I do, and I still think it's hot. Even heading into the latter October, November, I mean, it's definitely going to have some lower lows, but you can still get into the high 80s easily in those times,
Mhm.
which is still really hot. You're still going to have humidity and you're still going to have a
Mhm.
lot of rain. So when I'm thinking about what's the downside of fall, weather would be it. And especially because I'm not going to let the rain ruin my vacation, but rain is going to affect your vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I lean towards a little bit of this being that's so tragic.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you mentioned we cannot predict. All of this is unpredictable. And I know sometimes our clients really want to say, I want to go when it's X, Y, and Z circumstance. And you know, this is a toss up. You said that, Allie. Like we don't know for sure. I have experienced cooler temperatures in these months, and I love
Hmm.
November. We've done a lot of November, and we're getting to scheduling here in just a minute. But you just have to know that it is possible. If you're expecting a guarantee of anything, that's not going to happen. We cannot guarantee anything as we're instructing you now. And as travel agents, there will be no guarantees.
there are people who are afraid of hurricane season. Not that I am not going to feed into that fear at all, because you should not fear hurricane season at Disney World. In fact, it's one of the best places, if there ever were to be a hurricane while you were there.
Mhm.
However, you're not going to get a hurricane in January or February. You are in hurricane season. So that is something that has to come into play.
Yeah, I think the variables are what are going to make us make the decision that we make here when labeling weather. I just don't want to be misleading in any way, right? It's a great time to go. Weather can only ruin it if you let it. But because you are getting a full scale of possibility and very little ability to predict what could happen when you go, and especially when you're booking a year in advance or more, then to me, that makes weather and its unpredictability that's so tragic.
I agree.
Yeah. But again, only let it ruin your time by choice. You know, you could.
And honestly, you could win the jackpot of having amazing, really fall-like weather. Like
I know.
it's possible, but you just can't,
You never know. It could be hot. It could be cold. It
never
could
know.
rain. It could shine. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. We're going to take another quick break. We have 2 more categories to talk about when it comes to fall Disney. We're going to listen to Friend Like Me. Don't fast forward these ladies. They deserve your love and attention in your social media feed every day. Give them a follow, join their groups, and we'll be back on the other side. If you are looking for somebody to relate to on Instagram, perhaps you need to follow our friend Corey Eldridge at Corey's Magical Adventures. She is an angel mama, and she truly understands the phrase, life is too short, and she helps make memories with her family now. She is a full-time RVer. She spends her winters in Florida being a Disney local and summer at the New Jersey beach. Follow her on Instagram so you can follow her in her RV all over the country. That's Corey's Magical Adventures on Instagram. If you love a window inside a real family on Instagram, then you're going to want to follow my friend Jenna at Marsh Magic and Mayhem. She loves family-centered adventures, empowering busy moms, and authentic large family insights. She has lots of kids and they always travel, and sometimes that can be complicated. So following Jenna will give you the peace of mind you need to make it successful for your family. So if you want to be part of her community, follow Jenna Marsh at Marsh Magic and Mayhem on Instagram. All right, we have 2 more categories to discuss. We talked crowds, cost, pools, perks, and weather. 2 more exciting categories. One I find particularly exciting and probably reigns supreme in its category for the different seasons. But before we get to that one, let's talk schedules. If you are somebody that does not care about taking your kids out of school, fall is going to be a great time to go because a lot of kids are just going back to school. So they're not getting pulled out, right? It's very unlikely that I'm going to send my kids back to school and then a week later take them out to go to Disney. So the early September time, when people are just getting reacclimated to their fall life and their fall schedule and coming out of summer, we've just had a big break with summer. You're not going to see as big of crowds in that time.
Truly, and it often becomes more like of a local crowd at Disney during this time of year because of that exact thing. People don't want to start the school year off by taking their kids out of school immediately. And
I don't want to waste a break. Like I just had a big
Hmm.
summer break and I need to, if I'm going to pull my kids from school, which I will do, I need it to be when I need a break. We've been grinding and it's been going and going and going and I need a second. So that's not going to be when the kids go back to school. That's going to be when I'm like, goodbye, kids. See you later.
Yes, you're ready to have that break from them. And also, you just probably dropped a pretty good budget on getting backpacks and getting school clothes and shoes. And it's like, maybe this is not also the best budget time for a lot of families to go. So
school fees. Yeah.
Yep.
You also in the schedule, though, are going to find fall breaks, which fall breaks, I don't really feel like were a thing when I was younger. But I feel like fall break is the new spring break. Like everybody loves fall break. They're getting these 4-day, 5-day weekends, and more schools are taking them. The problem is it is like spring break in the sense that nobody's are the same. I've noticed my brother's family gets fall break early in October and we get it later. So you're seeing all through October those fall break upticks.
in that week, specifically when we're looking at a crowd calendar, that middle of October week tends to be one of those upticks in crowds. And I think that it kind of floats around with seasonal, regional specific things. When I lived in Utah, we had a break called UEA weekend, and it was actually like a break for teachers. But in Utah, we joked about UEA being called Utah Exits to Anaheim because Disneyland gets so busy during UEA weekend. However, that's not the only thing that happens during that time. There's like hunting seasons that's during that time that people will take an entire week to go hunting. There are crop times for farming industries across our country. And so there, for lots of different reasons, things tend to slow down, but Disney speeds up during that week, middle of October.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and the way you were saying, Allie, how fall break can be like spring break, where all the different groups have them on different weeks, that leads into Thanksgiving, which is when our family has gone multiple times because once my kids got into college, Thanksgiving is the only week of the year that matched across the board for
Mm-hmm.
everyone.
Exactly.
And it was a wonderful time to go because nobody was going to miss any school. There was none of that stress for anybody. And it matched up. But that becomes the case for a lot of people.
I was going to say Thanksgiving is complicated because,
Yes.
it's one of the rare holidays that pretty much the whole country is celebrating. Not everybody celebrates the same December holiday. Not everybody
Hmm.
celebrates Halloween. Not every, like Thanksgiving, pretty much a countrywide thing. Nobody has a variable on when their Thanksgiving is. So we're all seeing the same time off. People are off of work, people are out of school, all the same across the entire country. And you are, like I just said, deep in that grind. By November, you're
Yeah.
tired. You've been running fall sports. You're heading into winter sports. You've been back to school, back to work. It's months and months and months, early mornings, late nights. And by the time Thanksgiving hits, I know for my family, we're ready to just sit on the couch, watch football. And which, hey, by the way, Bengals have primetime football on Thanksgiving this year. It makes it one of the toughest weeks of the year because of everything I just said. You can't schedule around it. You can't be strategic. It is what it
Right.
is.
It is. It is. We have done it. They've been fantastic vacations. We remember them very fondly, but it's crowded. I mean, there's just no question about it. We actually have not ever been in the parks on Thanksgiving Day. We would take that as our rest day and spend time together and try to have a little bit of a downtime. So I actually have not been in the park on that one in particular day, but I don't know that it matters. I feel like that whole week it probably sees just as, it's just as busy as the rest of the week, but doable. And, as busy as it is and busy as and like you said, it's nationwide. I still feel like it's not as busy as spring break and spring break spread out around the world,
Yeah.
So I still think it's a great time to go. And if you have the scheduling issue with school, if that's important to you, this could be the answer.
Yeah. The crowds and the cost are one of those things that you're going to have to just give up on the negotiation of what's the most important if you're going to want to go the week of Thanksgiving, but you can still have an amazing time. It's going to cost a little bit more and crowds are going to be a little bit higher, but the weather, like that's the tail end of what could be this chaotic weather of fall. And you could have a quite magical trip from every other perspective during Thanksgiving
Yeah.
week.
Yep, I agree. So what do we think then with schedules? Because we have some great time off school to play with
Yeah.
Thanksgiving and fall breaks, or we have, the ability to pull our kids from school if we're comfortable with that and go.
I think it's magical because you have both options.
I agree.
This season,
That's what I'm leaning
you
toward.
have the option to either go when everybody's off school. And I do love that about Thanksgiving week. I do love that, like, the world says, you know what, we're all going to agree. Let's just don't do anything business wise this week or whatever. I
Yeah.
love that. But because of the other lower crowds, I mean, you have both options in this season. I think
Yeah.
it's magic.
I agree. I think it's
agree.
magic because you can choose.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I love that. I love that. I choose to pull my kids out of school.
We've taken multiple trips in early September and they're quite magical in that way. Yeah.
All right. The very last topic we're going to discuss when it comes to fall trips are going to be events. What are the special things going on in the fall that are not going on different times of year? And I think fall wins for best options, widest range of options, and just overall impression of options, right? There are so many special events happening at Disney World in the fall. Number one being the Food and Wine Festival, which is the OG Epcot festival. There are festivals going on a lot of the time at Epcot. Food and Wine is, while not my favorite festival, still an amazing festival. Nothing bad to say about it, just in comparison to the others, it's not my favorite, but delicious food, great drinks, and it brings a livelihood to Epcot that, we all crave when we go there.
I think the general population would say that Food and Wine Festival is the festival that they know about. There's nothing bad to say about it. It's a really great addition to an amazing park in and of itself.
Yeah, I agree. The Food and Wine Festival is great, but then we have lots of Disney after hours events. I feel like a lot of people don't even realize about these. These are special ticketed events that you can just go to a park late. So if you're not staying deluxe where you get those extended evening hours with your stay, there are select nights in parks where you can purchase ticketed access to a pretty empty park.
Yeah, and it's just the same concept of you purchase a ticket like you would a Christmas party ticket or a Halloween party ticket, and you get that lower crowds. There's usually some sort of little perk that goes with it, like maybe free beverages or free ice cream snacks or something, or popcorn. They'll have some sort of little thing often attached to that as well. Really super fun.
I've done Hollywood Studios. It's so great. Yeah,
Mhm.
really, really good time. You can see those on select nights. And then, of course, the best of the best, fall is going to offer all of the parties. If we're including November as fall, you're going to see Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, which runs from August, which I do not consider fall, by the way, all the way through October, through Halloween. And then you're also going to get Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, which typically, we don't have dates yet, but typically starts mid-November, as well as, in the past, I assume we're getting it this year for 2025, Jollywood Nights at Hollywood Studios. At Disneyland, they have one-off nights. Like they have Sweethearts Night around Valentine's Day, and they have Star Wars Night, and they have like all these really themed ticketed nights. I wish we had that at Disney World, but we don't. And all we have at Disney World are these parties. We've talked about the parties. We've done episodes on the parties. My favorite of the three is Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. I cannot get over that fireworks show and that parade just being the best of the best that Disney has to offer.
Oh, yeah. And we've already talked about that Macy's working at Disney World right now. So my oldest is there working on costuming at Disney World. And she just told us that she officially gets to work Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party costuming. And she's hopefully going to get to do some shifts with Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. So we're talking about like, if she has a bat, is she going to name her bat? Which if you go to the party, that's a if you know kind of thing. So there's just so much magic in all of these parties. I was just talking to McKenna, who's our middle. She is going to be a senior in high school. And we were talking about which of the Christmas parties we might want to go to this year. And we went to Jollywood Nights last year instead of Mickey's Very Merry. And she says she thinks she wants to go back to Jollywood Nights, which kind of surprised me. I think
that is crazy.
That's actually a know your audience. We're a family of teenagers, and Jollywood Nights is a much more mature party than Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party that feels a little bit more like a pajama party, if you will.
I agree. I just love these events. And the thing is that when you go to Disney, you are expecting magic. And you get it, no matter what time of year you go. But when you go in the fall, you have layers that you can only get this time of year. And they enhance your trip by a lot. Not just a little, like by a lot. I cannot get enough of the decor, the entertainment, the food, just the overall experience. If you are there during a Not So Scary Party, a Jollywood Nights, a Very Merry Party, obviously during Food and Wine, like you have to go to Food and Wine Festival. Do not skip Epcot. Please, just for the love of all things, do not skip Epcot. But if you're there during these parties, don't skip those either. Let them enhance your magic. When it comes to events, this might be bold, but I don't think it's wrong. Fall does it best. Fall Disney does the very best job with events more than any other time of year at Disney World.
Yeah. And I know all of our topics overlap into one another, but the FOMO will happen. If you're there without party tickets, you're going to have FOMO. You're going to have a situation with the crowds kind of swapping up between the parks, because these parties will affect crowds, not only in the park where the party is happening, but in the others as well, as people are moving around the parties. And there are some special things you really need to consider during your personal itinerary for the week during these months. And you're not going to want to miss these parties. You're going to want to include these because it will enhance your own personal itinerary to the max, not to be missed.
Even as a local, it's inevitable that I'm going to go up to Disney for the day or the weekend And I'll just be like, we're just going and using our annual passes, whatever. And we'll get up there and we'll see that there's a Mickey's Not So Scary. And we'll be like, let's see if there happens to be any available same day tickets. And it's,
Mhm.
while it's not unheard of for those tickets to pop up, it is not likely that you're going to be able to buy those
No.
things day of.
Yep. I think it's beyond magic for
Mhm.
events in the fall.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think the biggest takeaway that we want everybody to get from these episodes is that when you're deciding on the time of year to go, there are different factors that are going to matter to your family, and really prioritizing what those are and putting them in an order and then breaking it down is how you're going to really get your answer, right? There's not just a blanket, yes, it's great, no, it's not. So for fall Disney, we say crowds, so magical, cost, so magical. You're going to see lots of great options, lower cost lower cost weeks, and good promos. Pools, obviously so magical. Still really warm swimming weather, lower crowds in the pools just because less midday breaks, I would say on average. Perks, again, autumn vibes, lower crowds. You're getting it all. That's so magic. Weather, we did give a that's so tragic. Just because it's a bit unpredictable to call it magical across the board, you are going to be experiencing lower temps, which is awesome, higher temps, which can be annoying that time of year, humidity, rain. You're kind of going to get the whole wheel, and you could get the whole wheel in a single week. And so we call it tragic. Schedules, we call magic. You have the option several different times over the course of fall to either take your kids out of school or not. You get both options. So it makes schedule a magical option. Events, that is so magic. They do it better than any other season at Walt Disney World. We love all of the events. Don't skip any of them. Go to all of them. And plan a long trip that you can go to Not So Scary and Very Merry. It's going to have to be a long trip, but do that if you can. I think I feel good about that. I say go in the fall.
Yes.
Totally. All right. You ready to do Lightning Lane Fall Edition?
Yeah.
You know I love it.
All right. We're starting with Stacy. We're moving to Becki. Are you ready?
Yes.
What hotel are you staying at for a fall trip?
Wilderness Lodge.
Ooh.
I'm saying Fort Wilderness. I'm going to do a cabin at Fort Wilderness.
I agree with both of those,
Excellent.
or just anywhere on the monorail, anything that's going to get me to Magic Kingdom quickly for a party.
Yes.
What ADR, advanced dining reservation, is a must grab for a fall trip?
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, gosh. I'm going to go Garden Grill.
Oh, it's a good choice.
That's going to be,
Ooh, that is
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm leaning into the same kind of vibe because this has very similar food. And I would say Liberty Tree Tavern, like perfect Thanksgiving food.
Absolutely. As you're getting to Thanksgiving, yes.
My answer was Liberty Tree. Okay. What park is a must do on a fall trip?
Got to say Magic Kingdom on this one. You got to see it. It's so cute.
It's the only answer. I agree. I'm not a Magic Kingdom mom, and Magic Kingdom is probably one of my bottom two parks, actually. However, if it's fall, you're going to find me in Magic Kingdom. I have to see that Main Street.
You know what?
Yeah.
I think Magic Kingdom is the only park that decorates for fall, really. None of the other parks really transform, not like they do for Christmas. For like the holiday season, all of the parks transform. In the fall, it's really only Magic Kingdom. But I'm going to just give a counter and say that Epcot is the must visit because you can do parties. And I don't consider that the same as visiting a park, right? That's going for a party.
Yeah.
You could do that at Magic Kingdom, but you can only do food and wine by visiting Epcot. So I'm going to say that. All right. And what is your favorite thing to do outside of the parks during the fall months?
Gosh, I guess saying sit in my hotel room and watching football is probably not the best travel agent answer. However, you know what? Let's throw in there that there are a few little places that you can watch football games. There is a sports bar over at Coronado called Rick's Sports Bar. That's a fun one if you're wanting to watch some football. So how about I say that is my answer?
I'm with you. That sounds fantastic.
Our go-to for sports is actually at CityWorks in Disney Springs, which is a huge bar. And you don't even have to be eating. You can go watch some from like standing outside, which is really, really cool. I'm actually going to say going to Fort Wilderness and going back towards like the stables, but also like they have like carriage rides and wagon rides and things you can do. Like such a good fall vibe in a magical place.
Yeah.
I have another answer though. If you have a down day, going and like exploring, seeing the decorations of the cabins and the campgrounds in Fort Wilderness, another amazing fall thing.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Well, this is just a great time of year. It doesn't get better than fall, honestly, just in life in general, but also at Disney World. And maybe when we do our winter and our spring episode like this, maybe we'll determine that what I just said isn't true and maybe there is a better time of year. But man, do I love fall Disney. It's the greatest. All right. Well, if this episode was helpful, can you just do us a favor and go give us a 5-star rating, leave us a review wherever you listen, turn on your automatic downloads so that all of this magic drops right into your podcast feed, no matter where you listen, every single Tuesday. We want you here with us. We love our Smarties. Make sure you join us in our Facebook community. That's where we are interacting with all of our Smarties. We put up little questions and polls, and we talk about specific details from the episodes where you can tell us if we got something wrong. Maybe you love the weather in the fall and you want to go splash in the puddles. Our Facebook community is where you can let us know. That is going to do it for us on another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. And until next time, we'll see you real soon.
I love the tragical, and I also love the hairball that you just coughed up. I don't exactly know what was just happening.
No.
Yes.
Why are we all throwing up on this?
Don't describe it. Don't describe it.
It looks like minced garlic. Yeah, and they'll launch.
Oh, stop.
Oh my gosh, I've never even heard of that.
Oh, well, they...
Taking off my earphones.
And they smell, too.
Oh, that's delicious.
I think it's...
Yeah, guys.
Gosh, guys. My gosh.
I was trying to circle it and save it.
Are we really talking
too far
about
gone? Just re-say it. Just re-say it.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, re-say it. Re-say it.
Oh, I don't even know how I came in with it. Let's see here.